The millionaire's 6-year-old paralyzed son falls into the pool while everyone else ignores it, and only the poor janitor's daughter jumps in to save him. Before we begin, I'm curious. What time is it where you are? Day or night? I'm grateful you're here. Please like this video and follow our channel so you don't miss our future uploads. The sun blazed over the immaculate gardens of the Hampton estate, where the elite of Boston society mingled around the Olympic-sized swimming pool. Crystal glasses clinked as waiters in crisp white uniforms navigated between guests dressed in summer finery. Near the edge of the pool, 6-year-old Ethan Blackwood sat quietly in his wheelchair, watching other children splash and play in the water. "Would you like some lemonade, sweetheart?" asked Vivian Blackwood, bending down to her son's level, her diamond earrings catching the sunlight. Her smile never quite reached her eyes, carrying the perpetual shadow of disappointment that had lingered since the car accident 2 years ago. The accident that had left Ethan paralyzed from the waist down. "No thank you, Mom," Ethan replied softly, his eyes fixed on the water. Before the accident, swimming had been his favorite activity. Now he could only watch. Across the lawn, 17-year-old Lily Rodriguez cleared empty glasses from abandoned tables. Her mother, Rosa, had worked as the Blackwoods' housekeeper for 3 years, and Lily often helped during large events to earn extra money for college. Unlike the other staff who averted their eyes from the boy in the wheelchair, Lily always made time to talk with Ethan. "Hey, buddy," she said, kneeling beside his wheelchair. "How's the party going?" Ethan's face lit up. "Lee, I've been counting all the cannonballs. 27 so far." Richard Blackwood watched this interaction from across the pool, his expression darkening as he excused himself from a conversation with potential investors. At 45, Richard had built Blackwood Technologies into a billion-dollar empire, but his personal life remained fractured since his son's accident. "Vivian," he called sharply, pulling his wife away from her socialite friends. "Why is the help talking to Ethan again?" "We've discussed this," Vivian sighed. "Richard, she's just being kind. Ethan likes her." "That's not the point," Richard hissed. "We pay professionals a fortune for his care. We don't need some housekeeper's daughter getting involved." Near the pool, Ethan's attention was drawn to a remote control boat one of the other children had brought. As the children laughed and directed the boat across the water, Ethan unconsciously leaned forward in his wheelchair, trying to get a better view. No one noticed when the right wheel of his chair inched over the pool's edge. No one except Lily, who had just looked up from collecting glasses. "Ethan," she called out, dropping her tray with a crash that turned a few heads, but not enough. The wheelchair tipped forward, and time seemed to slow as Ethan Blackwood, unable to save himself, plunged headfirst into the deep end of the pool. The splash was lost in the symphony of party noise. Music, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Ethan's small body sank quickly, weighted down by the wheelchair that followed him into the water. Bubbles escaped from his mouth as his lungs emptied in shock. Lily didn't hesitate. "Help! Ethan's in the pool!" she screamed, already kicking off her shoes and racing toward the water. Her voice barely registered among the crowd, where conversations continued, and glasses kept clinking. She dove in, her uniform billowing around her as she cut through the chlorinated water. Below, Ethan's eyes were wide with terror, his arms flailing helplessly as he sank deeper. His paralyzed legs offered no assistance as the heavy wheelchair dragged him down. On the patio, Rosa Rodriguez looked up from serving canapés just in time to see her daughter disappear beneath the water's surface. "Diazami," she gasped, dropping her tray. Underwater, Lily reached Ethan, whose movements were growing weaker. She wrapped one arm around his chest and kicked hard toward the surface, fighting against his dead weight. The wheelchair had settled at the bottom of the pool, a dark shadow below them. They broke the surface with a desperate gasp. "Someone help us!" Lily shouted, struggling to keep Ethan's head above water. Now finally heads turned. Vivian Blackwood's scream pierced the air as she registered her son in the pool. "My baby, Ethan!" She ran toward the pool's edge but stopped short, her fear of water paralyzing her, a phobia she'd developed after nearly drowning as a child. Richard Blackwood pushed through the stunned crowd, followed by the family's security guard. They reached down from the edge, pulling Ethan from Lily's arms. The boy wasn't breathing, his lips tinged blue, skin pale beneath his summer tan. "Call 911. Richard roared as he laid his son on the concrete. The party dissolved into chaos as guests backed away. Mothers shielding their children's eyes, phones appearing to record the unfolding drama. The security guard immediately began CPR, pressing rhythmically on Ethan's small chest while Richard looked on in helpless terror. Vivian collapsed beside them, sobbing uncontrollably. Lily pulled herself from the pool, water streaming from her soaked uniform. No one offered her a hand or a towel. No one even seemed to notice her except Rosa, who rushed to her daughter's side. "You saved him, mija," Rosa whispered, wrapping her arms around Lily's shivering shoulders. "He's not breathing, Mom," Lily said, her voice breaking as she watched the security guard working frantically on Ethan's still form. After what seemed like an eternity, Ethan suddenly convulsed, water spewing from his mouth as he gasped for air. A collective sigh of relief rippled through the crowd. The distant wail of sirens grew louder as paramedics raced up the long driveway to the Blackwood estate. Richard cradled his son's head, whispering, "You're okay, buddy. You're okay." But as Ethan's eyes fluttered open, they searched past his father until they found Lily's face in the crowd. He reached out a trembling hand toward her. "The girl," he whispered hoarsely. "The girl saved me." Loom! The sterile hallways of Boston Memorial Hospital seemed to stretch endlessly as Richard Blackwood paced outside the pediatric intensive care unit. The squeak of his Italian leather shoes against the polished floor marked time like a metronome, each step carrying the weight of compounding guilt. "Mr. Blackwood." "Doctor." Sarah Chan approached, her face carefully composed into the professional mask she wore when delivering difficult news. "Ethan is stable, but we're concerned about secondary drowning. His lungs absorbed significant water, and there's potential for complications due to his pre-existing condition." Vivian looked up from the plastic waiting room chair where she'd been sitting motionless for hours. Her makeup streaked down her face. "When can we see him?" "Now, but briefly," Dr. Chen replied. "He's been asking for someone named Lily." Richard's jaw tightened. "She's not family." "Well." In the hospital cafeteria, Lily sat across from her mother, still wearing the damp clothes from hours earlier. A paper cup of untouched coffee cooled between her hands. "We should go home," Rosa said softly. "You need dry clothes. Rest." Lily shook her head. "Not until I know he's okay." Rosa reached across the table to squeeze her daughter's hand. "What you did today. I've never been more proud. But Mihija, this isn't our world. These people. I don't care about these people, Mom. Care about Ethan." Rosa's expression softened with understanding and concern. Over the past year, she'd watched her daughter form a bond with a lonely boy in the wheelchair, reading to him when she should have been cleaning, teaching him Spanish words, making him laugh when smiles were rare in the Blackwood mansion. Miss Rodriguez, a hospital security guard, approached their table. "Mr. Blackwood would like to speak with you." Lily followed the guard to a private waiting area where Richard Blackwood stood looking out the window, his silhouette sharp against the fading evening light. "Sir," Lily said, suddenly conscious of her rumpled appearance. "How is Ethan?" Richard turned, his face haggard with exhaustion. For a moment, he seemed to see her, really see her for the first time, not as the housekeeper's daughter, but as the person who had saved his son's life. "He's asking for you," Richard said, the words clearly difficult for him. "The doctors think it might help to see you." As Lily stepped into Ethan's room, the beeping monitors and oxygen tubes momentarily overwhelmed her. Ethan looked tiny in the hospital bed, his skin nearly as white as the sheets. "Lily," he whispered, his voice raspy. A small smile formed on his lips. She moved to his bedside, taking his hand gently. "Hey, buddy, you gave us quite a scare." From the corner, Vivian Blackwood watched with a complex mixture of gratitude and resentment. This girl, this teenager from nowhere, had done what she couldn't. She had saved her son while Vivian had stood frozen in fear. "Thank you," Vivian said stiffly, the words sounding foreign on her tongue. "But I think we should let Ethan rest now." Lily nodded, squeezing Ethan's hand one last time before turning to leave. As she reached the door, Ethan called out weakly, "Lai, will you come back tomorrow, please?" Before Lily could answer, Dr. Chen burst into the room, moving quickly to Ethan's bedside as monitors began to alarm. "His oxygen levels are dropping. I need everyone out now." As nurses rushed in, Lily found herself pushed into the hallway alongside the Blackwoods, the door closing firmly behind them. Through the small window, she watched in horror as medical staff surrounded Ethan's bed. "What's happening?" Vivian cried, clutching at her husband's arm. Richard stood rigid, his face ashen. "This is my fault," he whispered. "All of it." The morning sun filtered through the blinds of the Rodriguez's modest apartment, casting stripes of light across the kitchen table where Lily sat scrolling through news headlines on her phone. Every local outlet had picked up the story. Housekeeper's daughter saves millionaire's son from drowning. Some publications had even obtained photos of her pulling Ethan from the pool, her soaked uniform, clinging to her body. "They're making me out to be some kind of hero," Lily said, pushing the phone away in disgust. Rosa placed a mug of coffee in front of her daughter. "You are a hero, mija. But I worry about all this attention." Lily's phone buzzed with another call, the fifth reporter that morning. She declined it without looking. "I just want to know how Ethan is doing." The hospital had refused to give them updates, citing privacy policies. All they knew came from news reports. Ethan Blackwood remained in critical but stable condition. "Mr. Blackwood called," Rosa said hesitantly. "While you were in the shower," Lily looked up sharply. "What did he say?" "We're both to report to the house at noon." "He didn't explain why." Rosa fidgeted with her apron. "Lily, I'm worried they'll fire me. With your college applications due soon, we can't afford." "They wouldn't fire you for me saving their son," Lily interrupted, though uncertainty edged her voice. The Blackwoods had always treated them as disposable, and Richard's cold demeanor at the hospital hadn't suggested any change of heart. At exactly noon, Lily and Rosa stood at the service entrance of the Blackwood mansion, a sprawling Georgian estate that had featured in architectural magazines. Usually they would enter without ringing, but today felt different. Rosa pressed the bell, and they waited. To their surprise, Richard Blackwood himself opened the door. Gone was the commanding presence that dominated board meetings and charity galas. He looked older, diminished somehow, with dark circles under his eyes and yesterday's stubble shadowing his jaw. "Come in," he said, leading them not to the kitchen where Rosa usually received instructions, but to his private study, a room off limits to staff. The wood-paneled room smelled of leather and expensive cigars. Richard gestured to a seating area near the fireplace where Vivian already sat perched on the edge of a leather armchair, a tumbler of amber liquid in her hand despite the early hour. "Ethan's condition has stabilized," Richard began without preamble. "The doctors believe he'll make a full recovery." Relief washed over Lily. "That's wonderful news." "Yes." Richard paused, studying Lily with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "My son believes you're his guardian angel. He won't stop talking about you." Vivian took a long sip of her drink. "What my husband is trying to say is that we owe you a debt we can never repay." "I don't want anything," Lily said quickly. "I just did what anyone would do." "But that's just it," Richard said, his voice suddenly hard. "No one else did anything. Not the lifeguard we hired for the party. Not our friends." He stopped, unable to finish the thought that neither he nor his wife had saved their son. "We've made a decision," he continued after composing himself. "We'd like to offer you a position as Ethan's companion." Rosa gasped softly beside Lily. "Companion?" Lily echoed. "You would spend time with him daily, reading, playing games, accompanying him to physical therapy when he's released from the hospital. We would adjust your mother's duties so she could take over the household management rather than cleaning. Both your salaries would be significantly increased." Vivian's knuckles whitened around her glass. "It was my idea," she said, though her tone suggested otherwise. Lily hesitated, looking to her mother for guidance. Rosa's expression remained carefully neutral, but Lily could read the caution in her eyes. This was more than a job offer. It was an acknowledgement of something the Blackwoods had never before recognized: their shared humanity. "I'd like to visit Ethan in the hospital first," Lily said finally. "To see how he's doing," Richard nodded, pulling a business card from his desk. "I've arranged for a car to take you this afternoon. This has my personal number. Call when you're ready to leave, and the driver will bring you back." As they stood to leave, Richard added, "One more thing. The press has been persistent. We're prepared to offer additional compensation for your privacy. No interviews, no social media posts." The implication was clear. The Blackwoods wanted to control the narrative. "We understand," Rosa said before Lily could respond. Outside the study, as they walked toward the kitchen, Rosa whispered urgently, "Be careful, mija. These people, when they feel indebted, it changes nothing. They still see us as beneath them." Lily nodded, but her thoughts were already with Ethan, lying alone in his hospital bed. Something about the Blackwoods' offer felt wrong, calculated rather than genuine. But the chance to help Ethan, to be there for him, when his own parents seemed emotionally absent, pulled at her heart. What she couldn't know was that in the study behind them, Richard Blackwood was already on the phone with his attorney discussing liability waivers and non-disclosure agreements. The pediatric wing of Boston Memorial gleamed under fluorescent lights as Lily followed a nurse down the corridor. The walls painted with cheerful underwater scenes seemed cruelly ironic given the circumstances of Ethan's admission. "He's been asking for you," the nurse said, pausing outside room 512. "The medication makes him sleepy, so don't be surprised if he drifts off mid-conversation." Lily nodded, steeling herself before entering. The room was filled with elaborate flower arrangements and stuffed animals, evidence of the Blackwoods' vast social network, if not their personal attention. Ethan lay propped against pillows, his complexion still alarmingly pale against the hospital gown. Lily, his face brightened immediately. "Came. Course I did, buddy." She settled into the chair beside his bed, noticing the abandoned tablet and untouched lunch tray. "How are you feeling?" "Better now that you're here." He reached for her hand, his small fingers cold against her skin. "Nobody will tell me what happened to my wheelchair." "I'm sure your dad will get you a new one," Lily assured him, making a mental note to ask Richard about it. Ethan's expression clouded. Dad's been on his phone the whole time. Mom cries whenever she looks at me. Lily's heart ached at the matter-of-fact way he described his parents' emotional absence. They were really scared. Ethan, sometimes grown-ups don't know how to handle being scared. Were you scared when you jumped in after me? Terrified, Lily admitted. But being brave isn't about not feeling scared. It's about doing what's right even when you are scared. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Mr. Blackwood is on his way up with Dr. Chen. Lily rose to leave, but Ethan gripped her hand tighter. Don't go, please. I'll come back tomorrow, she promised. Pinky swear. Ethan held out his little finger. Lily linked her pinky with his pinky swear. In the hallway, she nearly collided with Richard Blackwood and a distinguished-looking man in an expensive suit who was decidedly not a doctor. Lily, Richard acknowledged stiffly. This is Harrison Wells, my attorney. Wells extended his hand, his smile not reaching his eyes. Miss Rodriguez, your quick thinking has impressed everyone. Mr. Blackwood was just telling me about the generous offer he's made to you and your mother. Something in his tone made Lily uneasy. It was very generous. Before you make any decisions, Wells continued smoothly. We have some paperwork for you to review. Standard confidentiality agreements, liability waivers. Nothing to be concerned about. Richard checked his watch impatiently. We can discuss this later. How is Ethan? He's asking about his wheelchair, Lily said, and he seems lonely. A flicker of guilt crossed Richard's face before his businessman mask slipped back into place. I've ordered a custom model from Switzerland, the best available. Wells cleared his throat. Richard, we should discuss the press statement before. Not now. Richard cut him off, gesturing toward Ethan's room. Dr. Chen is waiting. As the men entered the room, Lily headed toward the elevator, her thoughts troubled. Outside the hospital's main entrance was crowded with reporters held back by security. She ducked down a side corridor following signs toward a staff exit. In the hospital cafeteria, she bought a coffee and found a quiet corner to gather her thoughts. The Blackwoods' offer represented financial security. She and her mother desperately needed. But at what cost? Her phone buzzed with a text from Rosa. Channel 5 news van outside our apartment. Reporter asking neighbors questions about you. Before Lily could respond, a shadow fell across her table. She looked up to find Vivian Blackwood standing there looking out of place in designer clothes against the cafeteria's institutional backdrop. Mrs. Blackwood, Lily said startled. Is everything okay with Ethan? Vivian sat down uninvited, her movements stiff. I need to speak with you privately. She glanced around the cafeteria, lowering her voice. My husband's offer. You need to understand what you're getting into. I haven't accepted anything yet. But you will, Vivian said with certainty. The money is too good to refuse. Just know that once you enter our world, everything changes. The Blackwoods protect their own, but we also own what we protect. A chill ran down Lily's spine. I'm not sure I understand. You saved my son, Vivian said, her voice catching. For that I will be eternally grateful. But Richard sees you as a liability as much as an asset. The press is painting you as the hero and us as negligent parents. Harrison Wells isn't just handling paperwork. He's containing a potential PR nightmare. Before Lily could respond, Vivian's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and stood abruptly. That's Richard. I shouldn't be seen talking to you like this. As Vivian walked away, she paused and turned back. One more thing. Before the accident, I overheard Richard on the phone with someone named Marcus Stone. They were discussing a way to solve the Ethan problem. I don't know what it means, but oh, she trailed off, her expression troubled. Why are you telling me this? Lily asked. Because my son trusts you, Vivian replied simply. And right now, I'm not sure who else to trust. The media frenzy surrounding the Blackwood pool incident showed no signs of abating as Lily entered the hospital the next morning. She'd taken to wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap, slipping in through the staff entrance that a sympathetic nurse had shown her. Today marked 1 week since Ethan's near drowning, and doctors had indicated he might be released soon. Lily found him sitting up in bed, more color in his cheeks, playing a video game on his tablet. Level 7 already, she teased, setting down her backpack. You'll beat my high score at this rate. Ethan's smile was brighter than she'd seen since the accident. Dad says I can go home tomorrow. Will you still come visit me? Every day, Lily promised, pulling a book from her backpack. I brought the next Harry Potter. Want me to read for a while? As she read, Lily was aware of movement in the hallway, nurses, doctors, and hospital security seeming unusually active. Midway through a chapter, Richard appeared in the doorway, his expression grave. Lily, may I speak with you outside? In the corridor, Richard rubbed his temples, looking exhausted. There's been a development. Someone leaked Ethan's medical records to the press. They're running stories claiming negligence, saying his wheelchair was improperly maintained, suggesting we knew it was dangerous. Lily's mind flashed to Vivian's cryptic warning. That's terrible. But surely the hospital's security footage will show it was an accident. Richard's eyes narrowed slightly. The security system experienced a malfunction during the party. No footage exists of the incident. A chill ran down Lily's spine. That's convenient, isn't it? Richard studied her face. Harrison Wells is handling the situation, but I need to know if anyone has approached you. Reporters, lawyers, anyone offering money for your story. No, Lily said truthfully. I've avoided them all like you asked. Richard nodded, seemingly satisfied. But the car will pick you up as usual tomorrow. Ethan's being discharged in the morning. As he turned to leave, Lily asked, Mr. Blackwood, who is Marcus Stone? Richard froze, then slowly turned back, his expression unreadable. Where did you hear that name? I overheard a nurse mention him, Lily lied, watching Richard's reaction carefully. Marcus Stone is a business associate, Richard said after a moment. Nothing for you to concern yourself with. Back in Ethan's room, Lily found him watching a news report on the small hospital television. On screen, a reporter stood outside the Blackwood estate. Sources close to the family suggest that Richard Blackwood was on a business call discussing a high-stakes merger when his son's wheelchair malfunctioned. Questions are being raised about whether proper supervision was in place during the party. Lily quickly changed the channel, but the damage was done. Ethan's eyes were wide with understanding beyond his years. Dad was on the phone when I fell in, he said quietly. I saw him by the pool house arguing with someone. He didn't see me roll too close to the edge. Lily sat beside him, unsure what to say. The truth that his father's inattention might have contributed to his accident seemed too cruel to acknowledge. Sometimes accidents just happen, Ethan, she said finally. No one's fault. But Ethan, with a child's piercing insight, shook his head. It's okay. I'm used to being busy. That's why I'm glad I have you now. That evening, as Lily waited for the Blackwoods' driver in the hospital lobby, her phone rang with an unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. Miss Rodriguez, this is Marcus Stone. The voice was smooth, professional. I believe we have a mutual acquaintance in Richard Blackwood. Lily's heart raced. How did you get my number? That's not important. What matters is that we talk before things get more complicated. I have information about the Blackwoods that you need to hear. I'm not interested, Lily said firmly. You should be. Richard isn't who you think he is. The accident that paralyzed Ethan 2 years ago. There's more to that story than the public knows. Lily's finger hovered over the end call button, but curiosity held her back. What do you mean? Not over the phone, Stone replied. Meet me tomorrow 2 p.m. at the West Burbridge coffee shop. Come alone or don't come at all. The call ended abruptly, leaving Lily staring at her phone. Outside the Blackwoods' black Lincoln Town car pulled up to the curb, the driver stepping out to open the rear door for her. As she slid into the leather seat, Lily noticed a manila envelope on the seat beside her. Inside was a contract. The formal offer of employment from the Blackwoods, along with a non-disclosure agreement running to several pages of dense legal text. Attached was a note in Richard's handwriting. Your first month's salary in advance. We look forward to welcoming you to the family. Beneath the note was a check for $10,000. More money than Lily had ever seen at once, more than enough for her first semester of college tuition. The driver caught her eye in the rearview mirror. Mr. Blackwood asked me to wait for your signature, miss. He needs the paperwork tonight. Lily stared at the contract, pen in hand, thinking of Ethan's trusting face, of her mother's financial struggles, of Marcus Stone's ominous words. Tomorrow Ethan would come home. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., Stone would be waiting with answers to questions she wasn't sure she wanted to ask. The driver cleared his throat expectantly. Miss Rodriguez, will you be signing? Morning sunlight streamed through the windows of the Blackwood mansion as staff bustled about preparing for Ethan's homecoming. Fresh flowers filled crystal vases and welcome home banners hung in the grand foyer. A Pinterest-perfect scene that felt more like a photo opportunity than genuine celebration. In the kitchen, Rosa methodically arranged a tray of Ethan's favorite cookies, her expression tense. Did you sign the papers? She asked as Lily entered. Not yet, Lily admitted, helping herself to a glass of water. The manila envelope with the contract remained in her backpack, the check untouched. Something doesn't feel right, Mom. Rosa glanced nervously at the doorway, lowering her voice. Mr. Blackwood called the service agency this morning. He's replacing all staff except us. She wiped flour from her hands. People who've worked here for years gone just like that. The Rodriguez's. Richard's booming voice interrupted as he strode into the kitchen. Harrison Wells trailing behind. Just the women I wanted to see. His smile seemed forced, his eyes sharp with unspoken demands. Ethan will be home within the hour. Everything ready? Yes, sir, Rosa responded automatically. His room is prepared and I've made his favorite snacks. Excellent, Richard turned to Lily. And the paperwork, Lily swallowed hard. I still have some questions before I sign. Wells stepped forward smoothly. Perhaps I can address any concerns. Shall we step into the study? In Richard's oak pan-led sanctuary, Wells laid out the contract on the massive desk. It's quite straightforward. You'll be compensated generously for your time with Ethan and your discretion regarding the accident. Discretion. The media has been relentless, Wells explained, his tone patronizing. Mr. Blackwood is concerned about Ethan's privacy. Naturally, the non-disclosure agreement simply ensures you won't discuss family matters with outsiders. Lily skimmed the dense legal text. This says, I can't speak to anyone about anything I see or hear in this house ever. It also waives my right to sue if anything happens to me while I'm employed here. Wells' smile tightened. Standard language. Nothing to worry about if you have no intention of causing problems. The implied threat hung in the air between them. Side car doors slammed. Ethan had arrived. I need more time, Lily said, gathering the papers. Time is a luxury the Blackwoods can't afford right now, Wells replied coldly. Richard expects your decision by the end of the day. In the foyer, Ethan was being settled into a sleek new wheelchair, a marvel of Swiss engineering with carbon fiber components and motorized assistance. Vivian hovered nearby, adjusting pillows and fussing with his clothes, while a professional photographer captured the homecoming. Lily. Ethan's face lit up when he spotted her. He maneuvered his new chair toward her with surprising dexterity. Vivian's smile faltered as she noticed the contract in Lily's hand. Harrison, I thought that was settled. Not quite, Wells replied, shooting Lily a warning look. Richard clapped his hands together. Let's save business for later. This is a celebration. Ethan's first day home deserves our full attention. A staff circulated with champagne for the adults and sparkling cider for Ethan. Lily checked her watch. 1:15 p.m. 45 minutes until her meeting with Marcus Stone. She'd told no one about the mysterious call, not even her mother. Lai, will you show me how my new chair works? Ethan asked, tugging at her hand. Dad says it can go super fast. She forced a smile, pushing aside her worries. Let's see what this baby can do. They spent the next half hour exploring the mansion's grounds. Ethan delighting in his newfound independence. The advanced wheelchair handled the manicured lawns with ease, its battery-powered motor allowing him to keep pace with Lily as they raced around the garden. This is the best day ever, Ethan declared, breathless with excitement. First coming home, and now you're going to be here all the time. Guilt twisted in Lily's stomach. Ethan, I haven't officially accepted the job yet. His smile dimmed. But you will, right? Dad said you would. It's complicated, she began, unsure how to explain adult concerns to a 6-year-old. Because of the money? Ethan asked with surprising perception. I heard Dad telling Mom that everyone has a price. Before Lily could respond, Rosa appeared at the garden entrance. Lunch is ready, Ethan. Your mother wants you to eat something before your physical therapist arrives. As Ethan reluctantly wheeled toward the house, Lily checked her watch again. 1:40 p.m. Mom, I need to run an errand. Cover for me. Rosa frowned. Now, the Blackwoods are expecting you to stay for the welcome home lunch. It's important, Lily insisted. I'll be back before anyone notices. 20 minutes later, Lily slipped into West Burbridge coffee shop, scanning the sparse mid-afternoon crowd. A man in his 50s sat alone at a corner table. His silver hair immaculately styled, expensive suit, marking him as someone accustomed to power. He raised his cup slightly when he caught her eye. Marcus Stone. Miss Rodriguez, he greeted as she approached. I wasn't sure you'd come. I'm not staying long, Lily replied, remaining standing. Say what you need to say. Stone gestured to the chair opposite him. What I have to tell you can't be rushed. It concerns not just Ethan's accident last week, but the one 2 years ago that left him paralyzed. Lily hesitated, then sat down. I'm listening. Stone removed a flash drive from his pocket, sliding it across the table. 2 years ago, I was Chief Financial Officer at Blackwood Technologies. Richard and I built that company from nothing. His expression darkened until I discovered he was using the company to launder money for Anton Volov, a Russian oligarch under international sanctions. What does this have to do with Ethan? Everything. Stone leaned forward. When I confronted Richard, he fired me, froze my assets, destroyed my reputation. But I had copies of incriminating documents, evidence that could send him to prison. The car accident that paralyzed Ethan, it wasn't an accident. It was a warning to me. Lily's blood ran cold. That's insane. Richard wouldn't hurt his own son. Not intentionally, perhaps. Stone tapped the flash drive. Target was me. I was supposed to be driving that car, taking Ethan to his swimming lesson as I did every Thursday. Richard knew my schedule. But that day, at the last minute, the nanny took my place. Why are you telling me this now? Because history is repeating itself. Stone's eyes hardened. The pool incident wasn't an accident either. Richard is under federal investigation. Volkov is demanding his money back and Richard is desperate. He's looking for sympathy in the press, a distraction from the financial crimes probe. What better way than a tragic accident involving his already disabled son? Lily stood abruptly. I don't believe you. You don't have to. Stone nodded at the flash drive. The evidence speaks for itself. Bank transfers, shell companies, the mechanics report showing the brakes on my car were tampered with. It's all there. He handed her his business card. When you're ready to talk again, call me for Ethan's sake. Lily pocketed the flash drive and card, her mind reeling as she stepped back into the afternoon sunlight. Could Richard Blackwood really be capable of such callousness? Would he risk his son's life for a publicity stunt or distraction? As she hurried back toward the mansion, she didn't notice the black sedan that pulled away from the curb behind her, nor the man inside reporting her meeting to Richard Blackwood. The Blackwood estate was unervingly quiet when Lily returned. No staff bustled in the hallways. No gardeners tended the immaculate grounds. Only Rosa remained in the kitchen, mechanically chopping vegetables with red-rimmed eyes. Mom, what happened? Rosa set down her knife, hands trembling. Mr. Blackwood knows you left. Someone called him while you were gone. Ice formed in Lily's stomach. Where is he? In his study with Mr. Wells and Lily. Rosa's voice dropped to a whisper. They've asked me to pack our things. We're being let go. The weight of those words hit Lily like a physical blow because I stepped out for an hour. That's ridiculous. It's not about that. Rosa wiped her hands on her apron. Mr. Wells said we've become a liability. And he mentioned something about you meeting with someone you shouldn't have. They'd had her followed. The realization sent a chill down Lily's spine. Where's Ethan? She asked. With his mother in the sunroom. His physical therapist can lead. Lily squared her shoulders. I need to talk to Richard. Mikino. Rosa pleaded. Let's just go quietly. We can find other work. This isn't right, Mom. And there's more happening here than you know. Before Rosa could respond, Harrison Wells appeared in the kitchen doorway. Miss Rodriguez, Mr. Blackwood will see you now. The walk to Richard's study felt like a march to execution. Inside, Richard stood at the window, back turned, a tumbler of scotch in his hand, despite the early hour. Shut the door, he said without turning. Lily did as instructed, heart hammering against her ribs. Do you know what trust means in my world? Richard asked, finally facing her. It's currency more valuable than money. I extended trust to you and you betrayed it spectacularly. I didn't. Meeting with Marcus Stone. Richard's voice rose, face flushing with anger. The man has been trying to destroy me for years with lies and fabricated evidence. What did he offer you? Money for dirt on my family. A chance to be the star witness in his delusional crusade. Lily stood her ground. He told me about Ethan's first accident, about the Russian money, about how you're using your son for public sympathy. Richard laughed, a hollow sound devoid of humor. And you believed him, a 17-year-old girl from nothing, thinking she understands the complexities of international business. He set down his glass with deliberate control. Stone was embezzling from my company. When I caught him, he threatened to destroy me. The man is pathological. He showed me evidence. Fabricated. Richard moved closer. his considerable height forcing Lily to look up to maintain eye contact. I've built an empire through intelligence and strategic thinking. Do you really believe I'd risk my son's life for a public relations stunt? Put that way, it did sound far-fetched. Doubt crept into Lily's mind. The choice before you is simple, Richard continued, his tone softening to something almost paternal. Sign the non-disclosure agreement, accept a generous severance package, and walk away from my family forever, or refuse, and I'll ensure that neither you nor your mother works in this city again. What about Ethan? He trusts me. A flicker of genuine emotion crossed Richard's face. He'll adjust. Children are resilient. Ethan's voice came from the doorway where he sat in his wheelchair. Confusion etched across his young features. Why is Lily leaving? You promised she could stay. Richard's expression immediately transformed into one of paternal concern. Then buddy, you should be resting. This is grown-up business. I heard you yelling. Ethan wheeled himself further into the room, his new chair humming softly on the hardwood floor. Is it because Lily went to meet that man? Richard froze. What do you know about that? I saw it on your computer. You have cameras everywhere, even at the coffee shop. Ethan's innocent revelation landed like a bomb in the tension-filled room. The man said, "You hurt me on purpose." Is that true, Dad? The color drained from Richard's face. Ethan, you misunderstood. Of course, I would never hurt you. Lily moved to Ethan's side, protective instincts flaring. You were spying on your son's computer activities. It's called parental monitoring, Richard snapped. Standard practice. And the coffee shop, Lily pressed, is having me followed standard practice too. Richard's phone rang, breaking the standoff. He glanced at the screen, face hardening. I need to take this. We'll continue this discussion later. Then go find your mother. Well, the defiance in the 6-year-old's voice was startling. I want to stay with Lily. Before Richard could respond, the study door burst open. Vivian stood there, ashen-faced, clutching her tablet. Richard, it's everywhere. CNN, Fox, all of them. She thrust the tablet toward him. They're saying you deliberately sabotaged Ethan's wheelchair before the party. Richard snatched the device, scanning the headline. Blackwood Technologies, CEO accused of engineering son's pool accident for stock manipulation. Stone, Richard growled, fingers tightening around the tablet until his knuckles whitened. He leaked this garbage to distract from his own crimes. He jabbed at his phone, barking orders. Get me Wells and the PR team now. In the chaos that followed, Lily gently guided Ethan's wheelchair from the study. Let's go somewhere quiet, she suggested, feeling the boy trembling beneath her hand. Is it true? Ethan whispered once they were alone in the conservatory, surrounded by exotic plants and the gentle burble of a decorative fountain. Did my dad make me fall in the pool? Lily knelt beside his wheelchair, choosing her words carefully. I don't know, Ethan. Grown-ups sometimes do complicated things for reasons that don't make sense to others. But you would never hurt me, Ethan said with absolute certainty. That's why I need you to stay. The simplicity of his trust broke something inside Lily. Whatever games Richard and Marcus Stone were playing, whatever truths or lies swirled around them, Ethan remained an innocent caught in the crossfire. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. They're having security escort us out in 30 minutes. Where are you? Before Lily could respond, another message appeared. This one from an unknown number. Federal agents raiding Blackwood Technologies headquarters. Richard doesn't know yet. Get out of the house now. Don't. As if on cue, the mansion security system blared to life. Red lights flashing in every room. What's happening? Ethan cried, covering his ears against the piercing alarm. Through the conservatory's glass walls, Lily saw men in dark suits and windbreakers approaching the main entrance. The letters FBI emblazoned across their backs. Chaos erupted throughout the Blackwood mansion as federal agents swarmed the property. Through the conservatory's glass walls, Lily watched in stunned disbelief as Richard was led from his study in handcuffs, his face a mask of cold fury. Behind him, Harrison Wells followed with 2 agents flanking him, his lawyer persona crumbling into visible panic. "Dad!" Ethan cried, wheeling toward the door. Lily caught the handles of his wheelchair. "Wait, Ethan, let's stay here until we understand what's happening." The boy's face crumpled. "They're taking my dad away. We have to help him." Ooh, how could she explain a federal raid to a 6-year-old? Before Lily could formulate a response, the conservatory door flew open. Vivian stood there, eyes wild, clutching her designer handbag like a lifeline. "There you are," she breathed, rushing toward them. "We need to go now, Mrs. Blackwood." "What's happening?" Lily asked. "Nothing that concerns you anymore." Vivian's voice was brittle as she moved behind Ethan's wheelchair, taking control from Lily. "You're fired, by the way. You and your mother should leave before you're caught up in this mess." Ethan twisted in his chair, reaching for Lily. "No, I want Lily to come with us." "That's not possible," Vivian said firmly. Her perfectly manicured hands white-knuckled on the wheelchair handles. "Say goodbye, Ethan." "Mrs. Blackwood," Lily began. "I don't need to think," Vivian snapped. "You need to leave." A female FBI agent appeared in the doorway. "Mrs. Blackwood, I'm Agent Carter. We need to ask you some questions." Vivian's composure cracked. "I had nothing to do with Richard's business dealings." "Nothing. Nevertheless, we'll need you to come with us," Agent Carter replied calmly. "Child Protective Services has been called for Ethan." "Yes." Vivian's voice rose hysterically. "My son is not going with strangers." Ethan began to cry, overwhelmed by the adult's tension. Lily instinctively moved to comfort him, but Vivian blocked her path. "Haven't you done enough?" Vivian hissed. "First you turned my husband against me with your heroics. Now this, was it you? Did you call the FBI?" "Of course not," Lily protested. "I just found out about all this today." Agent Carter stepped between them. "Mrs. Blackwood, please come with me. My colleague will stay with Ethan until CPS arrives." As Vivian was led away, still protesting her innocence, Lily knelt beside Ethan's wheelchair. "It's going to be okay," she promised, though she had no idea if that was true. "Don't let them take me away," Ethan pleaded, clinging to her hand. "I want to stay with you." The remaining agent, a young man with kind eyes, approached cautiously. "Hey there, buddy. I'm Agent Ramirez. What's your name?" "Ethan," the boy whispered, shrinking back in his chair. "Nice to meet you, Ethan." "Cool wheelchair." Lily stood, addressing the agent quietly. "He's been through a lot recently, a near drowning last week, and now this." Recognition dawned in Agent Ramirez's eyes. "You're the girl from the news, the one who saved him." Lily nodded uncomfortably. "Can I stay with him until CPS arrives?" "He trusts me." Agent Ramirez hesitated, then nodded. "I don't see why not. CPS might take a while anyway, given the circumstances." The next few hours passed in a blur. FBI agents combed through the mansion, carrying out boxes of documents and electronic devices. Rosa found them in the kitchen where Lily was attempting to distract Ethan with cookies and a card game. "Mejia," Rosa whispered, embracing her daughter tightly. "Are you okay when I saw them taking Mr. Blackwood away?" "We're fine, Mom," Lily assured her. Just waiting for Child Protective Services. Rosa studied Ethan with concern. The boy's eyes were red-rimmed from crying. His small frame hunched defensively in his high-tech wheelchair. What will happen to him? Before Lily could answer, Agent Carter returned. CPS is understaffed today. They can't send anyone until tomorrow morning. Tomorrow. Lily exchanged alarmed glances with her mother. Where will Ethan stay tonight? Protocol says we should take him to a temporary placement facility. Agent Carter explained, lowering her voice, but given his medical needs and recent trauma. Rosa stepped forward. He can come home with us. Mom, Lily looked at her in surprise. We have the pull-out couch. Rosa continued. It's not fancy, but it's clean and safe. The boy knows us, trusts us. Agent Carter considered this. It's irregular, but under the circumstances, I'll need to make some calls. While the agent stepped away to consult her superiors, Lily turned to her mother. Are you sure about this? Our apartment barely fits the two of us. That child needs stability right now, Rosa said firmly. Not another trauma. Zero Zenman. To everyone's surprise, the FBI agreed to Rosa's proposal with conditions they would need to bring Ethan to the federal building tomorrow morning, and an agent would check in at their apartment that evening. As twilight fell, Lily found herself pushing Ethan's wheelchair up the ramp their landlord had installed for an elderly tenant into the modest two-bedroom apartment she shared with her mother. The contrast between the Blackwood mansion and their humble home couldn't have been more stark. It's cozy, Ethan said diplomatically, taking in the second-hand furniture and family photos crowding the walls. Rosa bustled about, transforming the living room couch into a bed with their best sheets. Are you hungry, Miko? I can make quesadillas. For the first time since the raid, Ethan smiled. Yes, please. With extra cheese. Later, after Ethan had been fed, bathed, and settled onto the pull-out couch with Rosa's childhood teddy bear for company, Lily sat beside him in the dim light of a table lamp. Will you read me a story? He asked sleepily. Like you did in the hospital. Of course. Lily selected a worn copy of Charlotte's Web from her childhood bookshelf. As she read, Ethan's eyelids grew heavy until he finally drifted off to sleep. In the kitchen, Rosa waited with 2 mugs of tea. The agent called. She says, Mrs. Blackwood has been released, but Mr. Blackwood is still in custody. No bail yet. Lily sighed, accepting the warm mug gratefully. What about tomorrow? Will they make Ethan go into foster care? I don't know, Mija, but we should prepare him for the possibility. A soft knock at their door startled them both. Rosa checked the peephole, then opened the door with visible surprise. Mrs. Blackwood. Vivian Blackwood stood in the hallway, her designer clothes replaced by jeans and a simple blouse, hair pulled back in a ponytail. Without her usual makeup and imperial posture, she looked years younger and utterly exhausted. May I come in? She asked quietly. I've come for my son, Udry. The small apartment felt even more cramped, with Vivian Blackwood standing in the center of it. Her presence incongruous against the backdrop of Rosa's handmade curtains and second-hand furniture. She glanced around with barely concealed discomfort before her eyes landed on Ethan, asleep on the pull-out couch. He looks peaceful, she said softly, an unfamiliar vulnerability in her voice. He's had a long day, Lily replied, standing protectively near the sleeping child. We all have, Vivian nodded, fatigue etched in the lines around her eyes. The FBI questioned me for hours. They think I knew about Richard's activities. She swallowed hard. They didn't. Not all of it anyway. Rosa gestured toward the kitchen table. Please sit. Would you like some tea? The offer of hospitality seemed to catch Vivian off guard. She hesitated, then nodded. Thank you. As Rosa busied herself with the kettle, an awkward silence fell between Vivian and Lily. The social chasm that had always separated them seemed both vast and irrelevant in the wake of the day's events. How did you find us? Lily finally asked. The FBI told me Ethan was with you. Vivian wrapped her hands around the mug Rosa placed before her. I had to call in several favors just to be released tonight. They've frozen our accounts, seized our passports. A bitter laugh escaped her. I had to borrow money from my stylist for the cab here. What happens now? Lily asked. Vivian's gaze drifted back to her sleeping son. I don't know. The mansion is being treated as a crime scene. We can't go back yet. The press is camped out at my sister's house in Connecticut. She looked down at her wedding ring, twisting it absently. For the first time in 20 years, I have nowhere to go. The raw honesty in her admission hung in the air between them. You could stay here tonight, Rosa offered quietly. The apartment is small, but we could make room. Devian looked up in genuine surprise. Why would you help me after how we've treated you? Because it's the right thing to do, Rosa replied simply. And because that little boy needs his mother. Something cracked in Vivian's carefully maintained facade. Does he? I'm not sure I've been much of a mother to him. She took a shaky breath. You know, when he was born, Richard was disappointed. He wanted a healthy, athletic son to carry on the Blackwood legacy. When Ethan was diagnosed with mild cerebral palsy at 2, Richard started working longer hours, traveling more. Lily glanced at Ethan, ensuring he was still asleep. Cerebral palsy. I thought his paralysis was from the car accident. The accident made it worse, Vivian explained. He had mobility issues before, but he could walk with braces. After the crash, she trailed off, lost in painful memories. The crash that Marcus Stone says was meant for him, Lily prompted gently. Vivian's head snapped up. What did Stone tell you? That Richard targeted him because he discovered illegal activities at Blackwood Technologies. That the car crash was meant for Stone, not Ethan. And you believed him. I don't know what to believe anymore, Lily admitted. But the FBI clearly found something. Vivian was quiet for a long moment. The night before the accident, I overheard Richard arguing with someone on the phone about taking care of Stone. I thought he meant firing him. She stared into her tea as if it might offer answers. I never connected it to the crash until much later. And by then, what? Rosa asked. By then I was trapped. Vivian's voice hardened. Do you know what it's like to suspect your husband might be capable of violence, but have no proof? To be financially dependent on someone you're beginning to fear? She looked up, eyes glistening. Richard controlled everything. Our money, our social circle, even the staff in our home. After Ethan's accident, my focus became protecting him. I thought if I just played my role perfectly, Richard would leave us alone. And the pool incident last week? Lily asked. Was that really an accident? Vivian hesitated. I don't know. Richard was unusually insistent that Ethan attend the party, though he usually keeps him away from large gatherings. And that morning I overheard him on the phone saying something about market sympathy and a public distraction. On the pull-out couch, Ethan stirred, mumbling in his sleep. Vivian moved to his side, brushing hair from his forehead with a tenderness that seemed at odds with the cold, distant woman Lily had known. I've made so many mistakes, Vivian whispered. But I won't make those mistakes anymore. She turned to face Lily and Rosa, shoulders squared with newfound resolve. I want to testify against Richard. Tell the FBI everything I know or suspect, but I need help. What kind of help? Lily asked cautiously. A safe place for Ethan while I cooperate with investigation. Somewhere Richard's associates can't find him. A sharp knock at the door cut her off. Agent Ramirez stood in the hallway, surprise registering on his face when he spotted Vivian. "Mrs. Blackwood, I didn't expect to find you here." "I came for my son," Vivian replied, composure slipping back into place. "I'm afraid I need to ask you to come with me," Agent Ramirez said apologetically. "We have new questions in light of information that's just come to our attention." "What information?" Vivian's voice wavered. "Your husband has agreed to cooperate in exchange for a reduced sentence. He's implicated several associates, including you, Mrs. Blackwood." The color drained from Vivian's face. "That's impossible. I knew nothing about his illegal activities. According to Mr. Blackwood, you were the one who suggested using your son's accident for market manipulation." Agent Ramirez's expression remained professionally neutral. Lily stared at Vivian in shock. "Is that true?" "Well." Vivian's denial was vehement. "Richard is lying to save himself. He knows I was planning to leave him to tell the truth." As Vivian gathered her belongings, she pulled Lily aside. "Richard will say anything to protect himself, including sacrificing me. Please watch over Ethan. Don't let him go into the system." "Mrs. Blackwood, Vivian," she corrected, gripping Lily's arm. "My maiden name is Montgomery. There's a safety deposit box at First National under that name. The key is hidden in Ethan's favorite book at home, The Velveteen Rabbit. Inside is evidence I've been gathering for years, insurance in case Richard ever turned on me." 3 months later, sunshine poured through the windows of a modest suburban home as Lily helped Ethan with his homework at the kitchen table. Physical therapy had improved his upper body strength remarkably, and his new lightweight wheelchair allowed him independence he'd never experienced in the Blackwood mansion. The evidence in Vivian's safety deposit box had proven crucial in clearing her name and securing Richard's conviction for money laundering, securities fraud, and conspiracy. Though the revelation that he had indeed arranged both accidents as distractions from pending investigations had shocked even the most cynical observers, it had confirmed what Vivian had feared for years. Now under the Witness Protection Program, Vivian, Ethan, Lily, and Rosa lived in a small town far from Boston. Marcus Stone, whose testimony had been equally damning, visited occasionally as a government consultant, ensuring their security. "Finished," Ethan announced, proudly displaying his completed math homework. "Great job," Lily praised, ruffling his hair. At 8 now, he was thriving in ways he never had under Richard's critical eye. Vivian entered with groceries, looking younger and more relaxed in jeans and a simple blouse than she ever had in designer clothes. "Swimming lessons at 4, don't forget," she reminded them. The irony wasn't lost on any of them. That water, which had nearly taken Ethan's life, now provided him freedom from gravity's constraints. In the pool, his paralyzed legs mattered less, his body buoyed by the same element that had once threatened to claim him. "Race you to the car," Ethan challenged Lily, his wheelchair already spinning toward the door. As they drove to the community center, Lily reflected on the journey that had brought them here. One split-second decision to dive into a pool had unraveled a criminal enterprise, toppled a corrupt businessman, and forged an unlikely family from the wreckage of 2 broken homes. At the pool's edge, Ethan paused, looking up at Lily with the wisdom that comes only from surviving unimaginable challenges. "Do you ever wish you hadn't saved me that day?" he asked suddenly. "Your life would be so different." Lily knelt beside his wheelchair, meeting his gaze with unwavering certainty. "Not for a single second," she said, helping him transfer from his chair to the water's edge. "Some people are worth diving in for, no matter the risk." As Ethan slipped into the water, finding his rhythm with practice strokes, Lily watched the sunlight dance across the surface, transforming ordinary chlorinated water into a tapestry of golden possibilities. Some would call what happened that day at the Blackwood estate a tragedy, but Lily knew better. It was against all odds the beginning of something beautiful. Proof that sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places and family is found, not